When I meet older adults in my clinic, one of the most heartbreaking moments is hearing them whisper, "Doctor, I'm afraid my kidneys are giving up on me." It's not just fear of dialysis, but the quiet dread that life as they know it, morning walks, laughter with grandchildren, even the freedom to cook their own meals, could slip away. What many don't realize is that kidney disease and diabetes often travel together, like two unwelcome passengers on the same bus, each making the other harder to manage. But here's the truth I want you to hold on to. Food can be a powerful medicine. Certain foods can lower blood sugar while protecting fragile kidneys at the same time. I'm Dr. Brian, and welcome to channel Vital Science for Seniors. Today we'll uncover 9 everyday foods that may help you reclaim control, hope, and health. Whenever I think of leafy greens, I remember Margaret, a 72-year-old retired teacher who came to see me with rising blood sugar and the frightening label of stage 3 kidney disease. She told me she felt trapped. Every meal seemed dangerous, and she was terrified of making the wrong choice. We started simply with something she could picture on her plate right away. Spinach. Leafy greens are nature's quiet healers. They barely nudge your blood sugar because they're so low in carbohydrates. But inside those tender leaves lies a pharmacy of nutrients. Vitamin C to calm inflammation, vitamin K to support vessel health, folate for your cells' repair work, and a rainbow of antioxidants like beta-carotene and flavonoids that shield tissues from damage. Eating them is like sending a team of tiny bodyguards through your bloodstream. One study in the journal Diabetes Care showed that regular leafy green intake improved insulin sensitivity, meaning your body handles sugar with more grace. For Margaret, adding a handful of kale to her salad or blending spinach into a morning smoothie was manageable, and within months, her numbers steadied. For the kidneys, greens bring gentle support too. But here's a word of caution. Too much potassium from large amounts can be a burden, so moderation is key. A sauté with garlic and olive oil, or a fresh handful tossed into soup, can transform a simple meal into powerful medicine. Not long ago, a gentleman named Harold, 68 years old, sat across from me and sighed. "Doc," he said, "I miss sweet things. Everything I love seems forbidden now." Diabetes and kidney disease had left him with a list of don'ts, so long he felt joyless at the dinner table. That's when I introduced him to berries, the jewels of the fruit world. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, tiny, colorful, and bursting with flavor. They're naturally sweet, but unlike refined sugar, they don't ambush your bloodstream. Their glycemic index is low, which means they raise blood sugar slowly and gently, rather than sending it spiking like a firecracker. Inside each berry lives a powerhouse of protection. Anthocyanins, those deep red and blue pigments, are antioxidants that fight oxidative stress, the invisible rust that damages both kidneys and blood vessels. Research from the Harvard School of Public Health even showed that women who ate more berries had a reduced risk of developing type 2 diabetes. For Harold, replacing his nightly bowl of ice cream with half a cup of mixed berries felt like indulgence, not restriction. His cravings softened, his blood sugar steadied, and his smile returned. For kidneys, berries are a blessing too, because they are relatively low in potassium compared to other fruits, which makes them safer for those watching their levels. Toss them into oatmeal, blend them into yogurt, or simply enjoy them by the handful. Berries prove that sweetness and health can live on the same plate. I'll never forget Maria, a 74-year-old grandmother with a laugh that could fill a room. She came to me frustrated because, despite her best efforts, her blood sugar numbers remained stubbornly high, and her doctor had warned her about high creatinine levels, a sign her kidneys were struggling. We shifted her focus to one food she had nearly forgotten: fish. Not the fried kind from her childhood fares, but rich, oily fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines. These aren't just protein on a plate, they are nature's delivery system for omega-3 fatty acids. Think of omega-3s as firefighters moving through your body, calming the chronic inflammation that fuels both diabetes and kidney disease. A study published in the journal Diabetologia found that omega-3s can lower fasting blood sugar and improve insulin sensitivity, making the body's dance with glucose more graceful. For the kidneys, less inflammation means slower damage, less scarring, and better preservation of function. Maria began baking salmon twice a week, seasoning it with lemon and herbs instead of batter and oil. She paired it with leafy greens and a small serving of brown rice. Within months, not only did her triglyceride levels drop, but her energy returned. She joked she could chase her grandkids again, though they usually ended up chasing her. Fatty fish, prepared simply by grilling, steaming, or baking, becomes more than a meal. It becomes an ally protecting your heart, your blood sugar, and those vital kidneys that carry you through life. When Thomas, a 70-year-old retired bus driver, walked into my office, he carried a heavy bag of worries. His mornings began with dizzy spells. His sugar readings swung up and down, and his nephrologist warned that his diet for kidney disease had to be gentle on his system. We looked at his breakfast, which was usually white toast and jam. I suggested something humble but powerful: oats. Not the sugary instant packets, but the hearty kind, steel-cut or rolled oats. Imagine oats as little sponges in your gut. Their soluble fiber, called beta-glucan, forms a soft gel that traps sugars and slows their release into your bloodstream. Instead of a roller coaster of glucose highs and lows, you get a gentle hill, easier for the body to climb. This steadiness not only tames diabetes, but also eases the strain on kidneys already working overtime. Oats are lower in phosphorus compared to many grains, meaning the kidneys don't have to clear away as much excess, and that can help protect kidney function. Thomas started with just half a cup, cooked slowly, topped with fresh berries and a sprinkle of cinnamon. Within weeks, he noticed fewer dizzy mornings, and his lab results began to show smoother sugar control. He told me, "Doc, breakfast finally feels like fuel, not a gamble." Add a drizzle of almond butter or toss in a handful of walnuts, and oats transform into a bowl that nourishes both body and hope. There's something comforting about the sound of crunch. And that's exactly what Evelyn, age 76, missed most when she was told to give up chips and crackers because of her diabetes and kidney disease. She felt deprived until I introduced her to nature's version of a perfect snack: nuts. Almonds, walnuts, pistachios, small but mighty. Each nut is like a little capsule of balanced energy, healthy fats, plant protein, and fiber, working together to keep blood sugar steady instead of swinging like a pendulum. Walnuts even carry omega-3 fatty acids, cousins of the same anti-inflammatory heroes found in fatty fish, giving extra protection to the heart and kidneys. Science backs this up. A study in the journal Circulation Research showed that regular nut eaters had better cardiovascular outcomes, which matters deeply when both diabetes and kidney disease increase heart risks. For Evelyn, replacing her late afternoon chips with a small handful of pistachios not only satisfied her craving for crunch, but also gave her lasting energy to play the piano each evening. The key, of course, is moderation, because nuts are dense in calories and minerals. A small handful, about an ounce several times a week, is enough to bring benefits without burdening the kidneys. She even began blending her own almond butter, spreading it thinly on whole grain toast. Each bite reminded her that health doesn't have to feel like punishment. In fact, with the right foods, it can taste like freedom. I once had a patient named Robert, 69, who chuckled as he told me, "Doc, I don't trust anything that tiny." He was pointing at the chia seeds I had suggested for his breakfast. They looked like nothing, just specks, hardly worthy of attention. But as I explained to Robert, inside those tiny shells lies a secret power. When chia seeds meet water, they swell into a gel, and that gel works like a brake pedal on your digestion. Sugars from other foods enter the bloodstream slowly and steadily, preventing the sudden surges that wear down the body's ability to control diabetes. Robert gave them a try, sprinkling a spoonful into his yogurt. Within weeks, he noticed that his morning sugar readings felt calmer, like a steady stream rather than a flood. For the kidneys, chia seeds bring another gift. They are naturally low in phosphorus, a mineral that can be difficult for weakened kidneys to process. Their omega-3 fats and antioxidants add yet another layer of protection, calming the inflammation that often drives kidney disease forward. Research has even suggested that chia can lower long-term markers of blood sugar control in people with type 2 diabetes. Robert eventually laughed at himself, saying, "I underestimated the little guys." He now makes chia pudding with almond milk, letting it set overnight for a creamy treat. In a life often filled with big worries, high creatinine, restricted diets, Something so small and simple became a daily reminder that healing can begin in surprising places. Grace, a 71-year-old widow, came to me with a tired expression. She had been told repeatedly what not to eat because of her diabetes and kidney disease, and she confessed, "I'm afraid of food now." To her, every bite felt like a potential mistake. That's when I introduced her to the creamy green fruit she hadn't eaten in years, the avocado. Unlike the quick-burning carbs that send blood sugar spiking, avocados are full of monounsaturated fats, slow, steady fuel that helps the body use insulin more effectively. It's like replacing a flickering candle with a sturdy lantern that burns evenly through the night. Avocados also provide potassium, which in the right portions supports heart rhythm and fluid balance. For kidneys that are fragile, the key is moderation and balance. But half an avocado a day can be a safe, nourishing choice. Grace began slicing avocado onto whole grain toast for breakfast and sometimes blending it into a smoothie. She noticed she stayed fuller longer and no longer craved the mid-morning cookies that used to spike her sugars. Research has shown that diets rich in monounsaturated fats can lower LDL cholesterol, the bad kind that burdens both heart and kidney health. Within a few months, Grace's lab numbers showed improvement, but more importantly, her fear eased. She smiled and said, "I finally enjoy food again without feeling guilty." The humble avocado reminded her, and me, that healing is not about restriction alone, but about rediscovering foods that love us back. When Samuel, 75, came into my office, he carried a little notebook full of blood sugar readings. Each page told the story of a battle, numbers leaping high after meals, then dipping low, leaving him exhausted. He had grown weary of the fight. I asked him about his meals and noticed a pattern. Lots of oatmeal, plain yogurt, even fruit, but nothing to help his body handle the sugar gently. That's when I introduced him to cinnamon, not as a sweet dessert topping, but as a daily ally. Cinnamon contains compounds that act almost like a key, helping insulin open the door of your cells more effectively. With that door unlocked, sugar doesn't build up in the bloodstream like an unwelcome guest. A study published in the Journal of Medicinal Food found that people with type 2 diabetes who consume cinnamon saw reductions in fasting blood sugar and even improvements in hemoglobin A1C, the long-term measure of control. For Samuel, sprinkling half a teaspoon onto his morning oats was simple and pleasant. Within weeks, his notebook began to tell a new story, numbers more stable, less of the exhausting roller coaster. Cinnamon is also safe for those with kidney disease when used in moderation, adding warmth and flavor without strain. Samuel once joked, "It feels like dessert for breakfast, but my numbers don't punish me for it." Sometimes the smallest flavor can bring the biggest relief, turning the ordinary into a daily medicine chest hidden in plain sight. One autumn afternoon, I sat with Lillian, a 73-year-old who loved nothing more than apple picking with her grandchildren. But since her diagnosis of diabetes and kidney disease, she had banished apples from her kitchen, convinced they were too sugary to be safe. She looked almost mournful when she told me, "Doctor, even the smell of an apple pie makes me feel guilty." I gently explained that apples, far from being forbidden, can be one of the most supportive fruits for someone in her shoes. Their magic lies in pectin, a type of soluble fiber that slows the release of sugar into the bloodstream. Instead of a sudden spike, you get a gradual rise, like a gentle hill instead of a steep cliff. That same fiber also helps lower cholesterol, easing the burden on both heart and kidneys. And apples carry antioxidants that protect cells from oxidative stress, the invisible wear and tear that accelerates disease. Research in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition has linked regular apple consumption to a lower risk of chronic diseases, including diabetes. For the kidneys, apples are relatively low in potassium, which makes them friendlier than many other fruits. Lillian began enjoying one crisp apple a day, sometimes sliced into salads, sometimes with a smear of almond butter. She told me it felt like reclaiming a piece of joy she thought she'd lost forever. An apple, once a source of guilt, became her daily reminder that healing can be sweet and simple. If there's one message I hope you carry with you, it's this: diabetes and kidney disease may walk hand in hand, but you are not powerless. The foods we've talked about today, leafy greens, berries, fish, oats, nuts, seeds, avocados, cinnamon, apples, are more than groceries. They are tools, allies, even small miracles hidden in plain sight. I've seen patients in their 60s, 70s, even 80s regain strength, balance their blood sugar, and protect their kidneys simply by changing what's on their plates. You can too. I'm Dr. Brian, and this is Vital Science for Seniors. Your journey to better health begins today.